I am so blessed. I am so blessed. As you continue to breathe and just return to your normal breathing, focus on this breath as you rest in the silence for a few moments, in this stillness and this quietness, this place that we don't visit often enough, in my opinion. So if you don't have a meditation practice, just begin slowly. It can be whatever you can do, and just be. Nowhere to be in this moment right now except right where you are. Nothing to do but to let go. And let your awareness fill every cell and every organ in your body with this peace and love and wisdom that comes from the wholeness that you are. Our human journey may deliver some brokenness, as Stogood sang, and yet we know that we are healed when the light comes in. Let the light come in right now. So as you breathe, and we've stilled the body, now we relax the mind. Just let the thoughts drift by. We're not trying to control the thoughts. We're not even trying to stop thinking in general. We just want to be. Don't be attached. Non-attachment for a few moments. Let the thoughts drift by like hot air balloons or clouds in the sky. Just let them drift by. And if you find yourself attached to one of them, then come back to the breath. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. And affirm in your mind's eye what we just sang. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. So rest in the calm and the quiet and the stillness of your own being right now for a few moments as we rest in the silence. Go deep into the silence of your own being. Just for a few moments, be in this place of stillness, in the silence, in the silence, in the silence. continue to breathe. And we know that no matter the chaos in the outer, there is peace when we go within and rest in the silence. So just let go of the outer disturbances and go deep. Go even deeper. Continue to breathe as we rest another moment in this space. So we know the chaos, the seeming chaos on the surface of the ocean is where many of us, most of us, live our lives. And yet we know when we go deep into the bottom, the depths of the ocean, there is definitely peace, quiet, calm, undisturbed peace. So now I invite you to take another deep breath. And then you can begin wiggling your fingers and toes and moving your body. Adjust your position in your chair if it feels right. And then when you're ready, you can open your eyes and to be in this space. Right here, right now. Oh, it's a morning for disturbances, isn't it? So how many of you have been in a quiet place and left your cell phone on? Yeah, no judgment. No judgment. Be sure to tell her that for us, Robert. No judgment. So, did you hear about this man that was had 3 sons, and he knew that soon, years, he would be passing, and so he decided to leave his sons money, each one of them to leave them money before he passed, like a pre-inheritance, if you will. So, and yet he had one condition. He told each one of them, I'm going to give you this money, but you have to promise to return it, every bit of it, before I die. So they looked at him kind of strange. He said, I'm going to take it with me. So years go by, and then it comes to, so he gives them the money. He shares his wealth with them. And so years go by, and they're at his service at the funeral home, getting ready for the service, and the first son walks up. He has a large envelope, fat envelope, you could tell it had a lot of money in it. And so he said, Dad, I did my best. Here's 75% of what you gave me. And he stuck it in beside him. He said, this is what you asked. This is the best I could do. The second son walked up. Smaller envelope. You could tell that it was a much smaller envelope. So he walked up and he said, Dad, I had a lot of trouble with my life, with my investments, with life just in general, and I made some bad decisions. So here's 50% of what you gave me. And he stuck it in beside him. So the third son walked up, and he had a real small envelope, very small envelope. And he walked up to the where his dad was laying, and he said, "Dad, I did fantastic. Your grandkids are being well taken care of. I've got a great life, a great business. I've done so good at this. And here's a check for 100% of what you gave me." And he stuck it in the... Interesting. You'll be thinking about that all day, because when I've heard it this earlier a few weeks ago, I said, I probably can use that. So I'm sure those sons at least had some anxious moments over the years, don't you think? Anxious, thinking about that, or at least the two sons did. The third son, I guess he had it figured out. So today, Bob mentioned this, Super Bowl Sunday is especially a good day to talk about anxiety in our hectic, crazy, challenging lives. If you've ever been to Las Vegas, it's a perfect fitting. You know, they've never allowed a Super Bowl in Las Vegas until this year. Vegas has got the connotation of being seedy and, kind of not more than a reputation, because it kind of is. If any of you from Vegas, don't mean to throw them under the bus, but anyhow, that's why. So because of the gambling over the years and the connection with organized crime, they kept the Super Bowl and a lot of other major sporting out of Las Vegas. But now they've built this huge stadium, this almost $2 billion stadium. My previous engineering company in Nashville did the engineering design on that stadium, so I talked to several buddies over the years what was being built. But can you imagine $2 billion spent on a football stadium to play basically 10 or 11 games a year? Of course, then the Super Bowls come, but they do other venues, of course, other things. But again, that's just a lot of money. And the taxpayers in Vegas are paying. All these stadiums you see around the country are funded by public tax dollars. That one is $750,000 from the taxpayers. But that's not that was the record, but now the record is the taxpayers in Nashville, Tennessee, where I lived for 40 years, are paying $1.2 billion for a new Titan stadium. That's the taxpayer share. So it's just mind-boggling. And I was thinking about, because of that, the average ticket at the Super Bowl is $9,000. That's the average. I'd need carry a paper sack around with me to keep from hyperventilating if I paid $9,000. So my anxiety level would be a little up if I paid that much. So my have times changed, and they say 68 million Americans are going to be betting on not only on the Super Bowl, not only on the game, but all the side bets beside it. For example, how long will it be before CBS will show Taylor Swift in the press box? A bookie will actually take a bet on that. Or what color is the Gatorade going to be pouring over to the coaches? Yeah, you probably saw. I saw some of that on Sunday morning this morning, so I've added that. But so Taylor made it back from Japan. She had a concert in Japan, and so she made it back. So that's going to be part of the game this year. But yeah, it's just that's part of it. That's the Super Bowl is big enough, and then yet Taylor Swift is even bigger. So. So in Presence and Potential, the book by Martha Creek that we're looking at for the first few Sundays now, we'll pick back up with this next Sunday. We'll start our Let Go and Let God Lenten booklet. Lent starts this Wednesday, and so next Sunday will be the first Sunday of Lent. And I invite you to follow along with that. This booklet is a great booklet about letting go. So I think you'll find that if in your prayer practice and affirmations, your daily practice. So in prayer, in Presence and Potential, what we're talking about this for is so that you can be the leader and be present and receive the potential life good by letting go of your anxiety. Letting go, not all of it, some of it's normal, and I'll tell you about that in just a minute, but and I'll tell you why we need to do that. You've all heard, Martha Creek outlines, you've all heard this, that to help somebody on a plane, you always put your mask on first. If they drop down from overhead, the oxygen mask, you always put yours on first. This is the same, it's exactly parallel. Before you can help anybody in any situation, any stressful situation for sure, see if you can bring calm and stillness and quietness to the situation. Love and peace and all of it. And you can only do that if you've practiced enough to regulate your own anxiety about situations, stressful situations. And we can learn to do that. We can learn to put in practices in high stress situations without denying ourselves, without denying our feelings. We can let go and learn to regulate our anxiety. Now, not a judgment, but if you don't have any anxiety, let's say that you don't have any anxiety, then I'm letting you know how you can deal with other people in your life that do. So if you don't have any, then that's okay. But you can learn to regulate, help people by being calm and still in any situation. So this may not directly apply to you. I'm saying that a little sarcastically. Because all of us have anxiety at some level. What we're trying to get to is a place where we don't let it control our lives. Don't let anxiety control your life and your everyday events. There's too many ways to keep that from happening. Everything we do in unity is talk. We don't. It's an underlying message. I was reading Eric Butterworth's book when I was doing this. It's talking about anxiety because we understand that we can, if we understand who we are, the spark of the divinity that was in us, which Jesus came to teach us. The greatest revelation that Jesus taught is the divinity of man, our divinity. Not so much his, although he's divine, definitely divine, but he taught that we are divine. We're divine also. So you have to find ways to regulate your anxiety if you want to show up in situations with your family, your son, your daughter, your wife, your husband, co-workers, anybody in your life. Great-grandchildren, or the cashier at Walmart, which will test you every time you go to Walmart, usually. You have to find ways, we have to find ways to regulate our anxiety, to reduce the stress level in our life. Now, some anxiety is normal. It's not, when I say we're not going to eliminate it all, it's not bad. In normal times, there may be places where the anxiety is even normal. For example, if you're waiting results from a surgery for a loved one or even your own, there might be a few anxious moments there. And then, or grief from a loss of a loved one, there's going to be some anxiety. And we can regain and regulate our own anxiety even in those situations. Now, there's a great website called Therapy in a Nutshell, therapyinanutshell.com. They've got all kinds of YouTubes, and there's all kinds of YouTube videos free. This therapist that's on there has offered this, Therapy in a Nutshell. She says you can regulate your own anxiety to a point. If it gets to any of these things, then you definitely need to see a therapist and get some outside, either a therapist or some other person. And probably any of our anxiety, we should work with somebody else. Your anxiety is interfering with your work, relationships, or other parts of your life. If it gets to that point, talk to somebody. When it's hard to control your worry or fear, talk to somebody. A normal amount of anxiety is normal. If it gets to the point where you can't control your worry or fear, and it's It almost becomes chronic. Talk to somebody. Or, of course, if you have suicidal thoughts, get some counseling, talk to somebody. And a friend, a therapist, talk to somebody. So Martha Creek in the book tells us, Rose in the introduction, she tells us about the 3 Ps, which is one technique for dealing with anxiety, regulating our anxiety. Pausing, preparing, and proceeding. So we all know that to stay calm in any high stress situation, what's the first thing that we're taught, we teach in Unity, what's the first thing we say do? Take a breath. Pause. Pause. How many times do we always do that? Not always. Not always, but it's a practice. So we let go. We look at how our expressions of stress and anxiety can even mimic animals. What's our normal reaction? It's to flight, fight, or freeze. Fight, flight, or freeze. That's our normal reaction. If there's panic and situation going around us, that's one of those 3s is usually what we do. And so we can, if our anxiety is regulated, again, it doesn't say eliminated, regulated, how we can respond, we can, and I know this works for me, and I'm not perfect at it. Some of us are, maybe, but I'm not. But we can all do this. We can all regulate this response, the flight, freeze, or freeze response, by just being present. This is instinctual. It's hardwired and automatic in each of us. It's a powerful reaction that is so innate, so instinctual, and so automatic. And that's why, Rose read this, that's why regulating my own anxiety or regulating your anxiety is no little thing. It's no little thing to do that. So before we speak, pause. Before we defend, pause. Before we go to war with another, pause. Even the Walmart checkout. Even the checkout at Walmart. Before you go to war with most of the time it's a female, but before you go to war with her, just pause. Pause. Be silent and go within and pause first. So how do we get calmer? Rose just told us, take a breath, count to 3, and decide for yourself which way is best for you to regulate your anxiety. Be the calm even when other people are not. Be the calm when other people are not. Not always easy to do because our herd mentality, the animal instinct, is if somebody else is angry and upset and throwing rocks or whatever, that's what we tend to do, the herd mentality, sometimes. So be the calm that we want to see in the world. Martha Creek calls it a circuit breaker. Be the circuit breaker in your family, with your spouse, your children. I'm going through this with my son right now. He and his wife are in the throes of a divorce. And so with my wife, we talk to both of them. We love them both, Daniel and Aaron. And it's just something that we get to come apart and be calm in it and not take sides, even though it's easy to do. But be the calm, even in stressful situations like that. Unity teacher Eric Butterworth in Discover the Power, we call him the Emerson of Unity and New Thought. If you read that, if you read any Unity book, read Discover the Power Within You, because it is about how to regulate your anxiety by knowing who you are. Butterworth says, by knowing and regulating your anxiety, we then know the infinite presence within us. This presence that we're talking about. And that's what we're trying to do, is find this presence within us. And we know these words from Matthew 6:25-27 are attributed to Jesus. Therefore I tell you, do not worry about your life, what you will eat or drink, or your body, about your body, what you will wear. Is it not more important than food, and the body more important than clothes? Look at the birds of the air. They do not sow or reap or store away in barns, and let your heavenly Father, and yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Now, they're not, that verse has been so beating people up with. It's not about not doing and planning and doing the things that we need to do. It's about don't fret over it. Don't worry about it. Don't let it cause you anxiety to cause you pain. So we do our normal living, do our normal things. Just don't let it turn into worry and anxiety. It can be chronic. It can be a habit. All the medical mental health professionals tell us that anxiety can turn into a habit, and that takes work to do. Last year we looked at the book Perfectly Imperfect with Brene Brown, Imperfections by Brene Brown. People were interviewed about wholehearted living. How did they do it? They weren't anxiety free or even anxiety averse. They were anxiety aware. So be aware of your anxiety and be aware if it's affecting your life. Committed to a way of living where anxiety was a reality but not a lifestyle. So, and how did they do this? How did the people that Brene Brown, in her research, she says they cultivated calm and stillness in their lives and making these practices the norm. Calm and stillness sound like the same thing, but they are different. And we need both. Calm and stillness. She uses the word stillness because I think, and she talks about this a little bit in the book, I read it again, I think she's a little averse to silence, and she says that, so she calls it stillness. What she's really calling it is silence. If you, I didn't send it out till yesterday, but if you read my email this week, I asked you, are you comfortable with silence? Are you comfortable with it? And by silence, I mean long, sustained periods of deep silence without any audible sounds. Somebody, I see a few shaking your head. Over the years, I've become increasingly more aware of how important silence is in my life. And many people are not comfortable with prolonged silence or don't value it. Silence is the medium through which we fathom the infinite depths of our original self, our true self. Silence is a sacred continuum that is eternally offering itself to us. It's a matter of uncovering right where we are. But all too often, we unconsciously avoid silence or just stay focused on what's going on the outside or around us, living on the surface. To actualize our authentic self, we must intentionally create gaps in time and space to notice and reflect upon what is going on within us, at our center, at our depth. So it's a practice that we have to do, calm and stillness or silence. And silence is not about focusing on nothing or nothingness. It's about creating a clearing. Create a clearing in just for a few moments when you rest in the silence. It's about opening up in an emotional, clutter-free space and allowing ourselves to feel and think and dream and question. That's what the silence does. It creates an emotionally clutter-free space. So to regulate your own anxiety, find a place that you can create calm and stillness or silence in your life. Michael Singer tells us that we should meditate, and most meditation teachers tell us this. We should meditate in the silence for 15 minutes twice a day. 15 minutes twice a day. Michael Singer is belligerent about it almost. If you want to hear Michael Singer again, I listen to him every week. MichaelSingerPodcast.com. He's got all these podcasts about living untethered. The Untethered Soul, the Surrender Experiment. Those are the 3 books. He's got all of that you can go listen to for free. And again, he tells us to, almost belligerently, and says, why do we find ourselves worrying all the time? And according to Michael Singer, it comes down to the desperate request our hearts have been made to the mind to think. Protect us from bad events about dreaming up scary possibilities, and then warn us all about them. So it's a both and. The only way to regulate that, the spiritual teachers tell us, is to develop a practice of calm and stillness. Are you comfortable with the silence? Are you comfortable with silence? Remember, silence is only a breath away. It's only a breath away. In the silence, we discover infinite presence that is with us and always has been with us. In this presence, we are never alone. Namaste.
Thank you, Reverend Ron. I just want to clear up one thing in my mind here now, because there was a point where you said usually it's a female, and I just want to make sure that it's connected with your interaction with the cashier at Walmart. That's what you were. Okay. Okay. Just want to make sure. Okay. Okay. Here we are.